The Minister of Home Affairs, Adrian Motsoaledi, confirmed that his department has missed its own deadline to introduce the remote working visa in South Africa by the end of June. The Western Cape government says that South Africa continues to lose vital skills and tourism opportunities. For more on the impact of this, we are now joined by Adrian Roos from the Democratic Alliance. Mr. Roos, appreciate your time this afternoon. What is the opposition party's perspective on the delays in introducing the remote working visa in South Africa, and obviously the impact you believe it has on the country's economy?
Well, thank you, Garnet. I think the first reaction is a bit of a severe surprise. I think if you look at the last quarterly employment statistics, it shows that we're losing 8,000 jobs a month. And this thing of visas and the gathering of foreign investment, critical skills that creates jobs in South Africa is, in our opinion, a low-hanging fruit that should be treated with the greatest of urgency. And so it's a real surprise. These things were supposed to start coming in from April, and there's no really good reason given why it hasn't happened so far.
Well, if we look at the Home Affairs, are you surprised that this has actually happened? On the contrary?
Well, I think, the Democratic Alliance has obviously been going on about this for quite a few months. And it also surprises me that it's really the Western Cape that's leading this cry. It should be every province in South Africa that is fighting for jobs for its people. And I think what we have seen with that pressure that the DA is putting on the minister is a lack of capacity inside Home Affairs. And so what came out, after we discovered that in the first 6 months of last year, they processed only one work or business or critical skills visa per day. It came out that the people that were put there were not capable of doing the work. And so this really has apparently been remedied since the 1st of April. There is supposed to be a cohort of 18 additional staff that have been put in place to start to adjudicate these visas and to start to deal with these issues, but it still doesn't seem to be happening.
Now, it's pretty surprising that they were producing or approving just a solitary visa a day. Is this a complicated process, firstly? And secondly, since the Department of Home Affairs said that they were fixing it, have you been in conversation with them? Have you followed up? Not that it's particularly your job, but I'd imagine that as Shadow Minister, these are some of the things that you would be looking out for. Yeah,
look, so part of visa adjudication is to understand the laws. The laws, the directives, regulations surrounding that visa, what the courts have said, etc., so that you can adjudicate it properly. And if you look at, I think it's quite a damning revelation by the minister that, having come in 2019, the DA has been going on about this, certainly even before then, only to discover now that this is the cause of the problem is really worrying. I think we look at we have yet another investigation in the Department of Home Affairs. This time it's the Lubisi report. And they've been looking at the visas issued between 2014 and 2021. And what that shows is about 45,000 fraudulent visas issued just in those categories. And if you look at the visa backlog that is communicated by the minister, that is around 40 to 50,000. So if you didn't have this corrupt enterprise going on in Home Affairs, then you wouldn't have the backlog, and that would go a long way to helping with these problems. But I think the big issue that we've hit the nail on the head, and we're expecting to see results in this regard, is the fact that you have cadres deployed there that were incapable. And we are now trusting, we're following up whether these new persons that have been employed there, apparently they start on the 1st of April working, whether they're actually going to make a difference, and we're going to be tracking the figures very carefully.
Have you actually had a conversation with the Minister, Adrian Motsoaledi?
Well, we had an intensive session at the end of March, and we went to the Immigration Services. We insisted on it, so the Committee of Home Affairs in Parliament went. We sat there, we saw what was going on inside the offices, and then we had an extensive discussion about some of the proposals of the DA on how we can cut the visa backlog, as well as the challenges that we saw there. And so the Minister and the Head of Immigration at that time, the Acting Head of Immigration, had certainly committed. There seems to be a tendency to always say that it's a matter of resources, and as soon as we get enough staff, then we will do something about it. But I think, The truth of the matter is what I'd said before. If you'd, instead of awarding 45,000 fraudulent visas, if you just processed the proper ones correctly, then you'd have no backlog and we'd be in a much better situation.
Adrian Roos is the DA Shadow Deputy Minister of Home Affairs. Appreciate your time this afternoon. Well, it's time for